Hello.
There we go.
Oh,
Hello.
hi.
It worked. I think it caught the low part. The button on my Stream Deck, like I have to press it, and sometimes I have to press it multiple times. Just that one button, it's broken or something.
Oh,
I have,
interesting.
I have to
Just
look
move
it
it,
up.
move it over to another one.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'll do that sometime when I'm not being lazy. Hey everybody,
Yeah.
welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. Yeah, today we have my brother as a guest, Broman. That's right. Hey yo, it's Broman. He hasn't been on here for a while,
Hey.
but yeah. So
Yeah, Dro grew a lot of hair, changed his name, his personality. It's all different now. So
it's
good
all
luck.
different. It's all different now, guys. He no longer hates relationships. You can talk about that now openly.
Com-
And no,
yeah, it changed my whole history too. It's like I went
uh
back in time, redid the whole shot. So
huh. Oh wow, dang, name change and everything. Wow. Welcome everybody. It's nice to see you all. There's quite a few of you in the chat. That's great. How are you all doing today? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing fantastic. Did I change my age? The age thing, well, kind of. It's really complicated. So I went back in time. I lived a whole extra 29 years.
29 years. Exactly.
Yeah, no, no, I'm doing great, fantastic. I'm so
Great.
happy to be here with you guys today. Um,
Hmm.
you don't get Joe, but good luck with me. So
That's right. My brother
there
hits
you go.
hard, so he takes the
Yeah, I'm
gloves
not
off.
not usually, unfortunately, not usually as nice, but you guys will be fine. You can
Hmm.
handle
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
it.
Yeah, you guys will be fine.
If not, Ryan will kick me off and you won't see me again. So
That probably
that'll
won't
be
happen.
fun.
Usually I just take it as like, well, if it happened on the show, they probably needed to hear that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No, we're gonna
Um,
we're gonna have we're gonna have some fun today, but we're also
yeah,
gonna hopefully get into some meat and help you guys out if you need it. So
yeah. So perfect. That's what this show is about. So welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. If you haven't been here before, you can submit a topic to don'tworrywednesday.com. And basically, we just aim to be your friend in your journey in life because a lot of times, things go down. Struggles hit you, and sometimes it could go months, and you feel like you have no way out. Or maybe it's only been a day and something big happened and you're just looking for someone to talk to about it. And we're here to, talk about those things, give a different perspective maybe. A lot of times you guys know what to do to solve your problems, but a little encouragement can go a long way. So hopefully we can give you some encouragement to just do the right things and do the things you're thinking about doing that are good. And maybe discourage you from some things that are on your mind as well. Because here's the thing, we've both lived enough to recognize that we've failed a lot and we've succeeded a lot, and so we can learn from those mistakes and share them. And so we're happy when you guys also share in the chat. If you guys could please, when there's a topic that you feel like, you know what, I experienced that, I'd like to talk about it, I'd like to put my 2 cents in the chat, that's really great and it's helpful. So we really appreciate when you guys do that. So please do. One final note is we are not professional psychologists or psychiatrists or anything along those lines, but we will do our best to give you our best. So yeah.
if you mistake me for a professional after about 30 seconds, I don't know what to tell you.
I think that'd be pretty easy to mistake you as a professional, just because you're so like assertive
Yeah.
in the way that you say things. You're just like, it is this. This is the fact. So
Yeah. So yeah, no, Joe's doing great. He just had a sporting event with his son. So
yeah, he's not sick or anything. Yeah, just for this Wednesday and I don't know for the next Wednesday, but a couple of these Wednesdays during this next month period, Joe's going to be just at his children's games, and so
yeah,
we'll have someone
yes, supporting his kids,
cover.
it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. What's the most obscure fruit you can think of? Um, how about an ivory melon?
Okay.
Yep.
Um, I was gonna say dragon fruit, but it's not really that obscure, as evidenced by someone else coming up with the same thing.
Yeah. And then yeah, starfruit. I was gonna
Fruit's
say
another
star.
good one. Starfruit's another good one I had too. We're on the
Yeah,
same wavelength.
yeah. I was about to say starfruit, and I'm like, no, someone's gonna fake that. I'm definitely gonna say something. A cashew is technically a fruit. Dang, Saule. Yep.
Is there
Dragon
a fruit
fruit.
called bread? Isn't there a fruit called breadfruit or something like that?
It's quite likely. Durians. Oh, durians. That's a good one. Um, I've never had a durian. I've heard that they're terribly stinky. They smell like a dead body. But they taste great. I once had a what was that? Papaya. I once had a papaya
Mm.
in the house. Kyle remembers it. I opened that thing up. It smelled like a carcass.
Yeah, it
It
was.
was horrible. It
Yeah, apparently.
tasted.
Well,
Huh? Sorry, go on.
it just. I guess papaya. It's like sometimes it's hard to find a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, papaya can smell fine, but the one that we had just smelled like a carcass. And I looked online, it's like that's normal. It just means that the papaya got bruised along the journey. And when that happens, it starts to oxidize really fast and smell like poop and carcass. Not great. Tasted great, but it was hard to get over the smell, so we just threw it out.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to buy another one unless
No.
I'm where they're grown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
It's
Oh.
maybe that's not the good attitude about it, but
I know, I completely agree. Cherry Moya. Okay, I don't know that one, Baka. You totally came up with an obscure one. Well done.
yeah,
I've
what
never
is
even heard of
that?
that. That's cool. Wow. Um, odor. Yeah, the odor is too much. Yeah, of my taste palette for some of those. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you are sensitive to
Mhm.
odor, then don't ever eat a durian or a papaya. I would just stay away from those. Guava. Oh, guava's nice. Acai. There you go, Hatsu. Acai. Or I don't actually. I think that's how it's pronounced. That's how I was told it was pronounced. But anyways, let's get on with the show. Thanks for the opening. Who was
Yeah,
it
that
asked
was
that
great.
for the most obscure fruit? Was that Baka? I don't. Yeah, that was Baka.
Yeah.
That was a great question, man. Way to go. So let's get the show on the road. I've got a couple of topics here. And Baka, I'm just gonna put the spotlight on you because you started this whole thing and it's awesome. Let me just double check that this one isn't the one we already did, because I think last time I forgot to say answered. Nope, this is definitely the one we did last time. Okay, you're in the clear, Baka. Sorry, I forgot to mark that topic is completed. I'm gonna go on to Hatsu. Hatsu, you've got one. That is titled. It was sent in very recently. It was titled "Why Do I Keep Losing Everyone?" Would you be down for us covering that topic? I'm going to guess so. All right. Yes. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that topic up on the screen for y'all and give it a whirl. If you want to read along, feel free to do so. Oh my gosh, this button is not working. There we go. I really do need to change that button. All right. So I'm going to read this topic. If you want to read along, feel free to do so. If you don't, well, you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. So it reads as follows. This is from Hatsu. And it reads as follows, yes. Why do I keep losing everyone? For the last few months, I just keep losing people. It started with my entire IRL friend group cutting contact with me, and now just my longtime Discord friends are now leaving me, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Am I a bad person? Do people hate me? Am I annoying? I seriously don't know why, and I hate it. I can't take it. It sucks. Like today, the owner of a Discord group chat I have been active in for 2 years cut contact with me, and I was kicked from the group call, and I don't know why. And that's one of my examples, but I must be doing something wrong because it's happening almost weekly. I keep losing people, and I'm scared. I already have no in real life friends, and I'm scared I might soon have no friends left online either. So, I'm going to go ahead and put that back on us. Yeah, Hatsu, that sounds really rough. I mean, that's not an experience anybody wants to go through. It stinks to lose friends. It stinks to have contact cut off from you. And it's after a while, it starts to feel like, am I the broken one here? Am I the one that's in the wrong? Because it's just happening to me over and over and over and over. So clearly it must be me. Because not everybody faces this, right? Not everybody else is going through this, right? At least that's what you're thinking. Because there's no evidence of that happening, and there's evidence otherwise. Generally speaking, most people don't experience that. So yeah, this is really rough. This is it's a very hard emotional battle, especially for someone who cares about people. You know, and that's most people. Most people care to have friends. Most people care to, keep their friends close. And so this is a very dark struggle. So I feel you, man, and I hope that we can at least help you, maybe uncover if there is something wrong, what that might be, or give you some sense of, okay, this does happen to people from time to time, and some people just have bad luck, or whatever it is, some comfort. Maybe we can give you a little bit of both. And so I don't know. I'm just hoping that we can help. So, anyways, I'm gonna give it over to my brother, and hope that he's got something that can encourage you and move you along with this situation. Take it away.
Sure. Yeah. So, it's really hard to. I'm never going to be able to tell you if you're doing something wrong, what you're doing wrong, or anything like that in a situation like this, because I don't have the context. We haven't been in there in all these Discord chats and with you and your friend group and stuff. But I'd like to encourage you that, if, first of all, if you're hanging out here with this group of people, I know there's that your heart's in the right direction, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't be here. And so I'm wondering something, that was, I'm led to believe that perhaps it's not necessarily that your friend group is, that it's not something you're doing wrong, but it's that maybe you are at a point in your life where you're moving maybe beyond your friend group, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds kind of strange, but
No,
as you go through life,
yeah,
you're going to have different stages and different sets of friends based on your interests. And when you decide, like when you decide you want to be a better person, sometimes that's going to mean people who don't want to get better are not going to want to be around you just because they want to stay where they're at. They don't want to move forward in life. They're comfortable where they're at. And so if you're trying to become a better person all the time, and they don't want that rubbing off on them for whatever reason, they're not ready, which would more often be the reason why. It's not that they don't want to be a better person. They're just not ready for it yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're just not there yet. And so you can have a situation where you've moved beyond your whole friend group just because you haven't made new friends that are in line with your goals of life or where you're trying to go. This happens in a more common way when you go to college, or somebody goes off to school, or gets a new job. A lot of times people make their friends where they're at all day long. So if you're in school all day long, you make friends at school. But then when you go to a new school, it's like a location type thing. It's not necessarily an attitude or a personal growth situation. It's just different location, right? This happens to a lot of people. Online has made things a lot better because you can keep in contact with these people no matter where you're at. But your physical location isn't the only location you exist, because you also have this sort of mental location, right? It's how you see yourself, how you see the world around you. And if the way you see the world isn't in line with the way they see the world, you might be talking to them, but you're not in the same place, because the world that you occupy is completely different. And so it might not be anything you've done particularly. It might just be that your worldviews have separated. They've gone in one direction, you've gone in another. And because you live in these different worlds, maybe they can't, their world isn't ready for you. If that makes sense. And so they might sort of block it because they don't, it's too chaotic for their brains to deal with the dissonance. Because when you have a friend that believes something drastically different from you, it's really like that, it creates this emotional response in us, and they have to remember that or see that every time they're with you. I could see, that could be emotionally draining for them, and so they might just be retreating in order to rest from the emotional issue, right? And then they might come back once they have recovered, or they're in a spot where they can feel like they're ready to move forward in their life, or whatever is going on. I don't know. That's kind of where the other option is, it could be the other way too. They've moved on and you haven't, but I'm not quite so sure that would be the case for someone hanging around with with the group of people here. I mean, we're all trying to become better people, hopefully on a daily basis, but certainly on a regular basis. And so I have a feeling, I mean, that's kind of where my gut goes with this without having more information, but um, I think that's kind of, and how do you deal with that? I think you have to find more like-minded people to try and hang out with, that want to go where you want to go, be where you want to be, do the things you like to do. How do you find those people? Just start doing stuff, I guess. I mean, if you are, I mean, I don't know you well. I'm just going to throw a thing out there that I don't know much about either, because I don't do this. But if I was really into fitness and I had very few friends, I would go to a gym, right? And just start being at the gym. And then I'm going to start to see the people who are there regularly. And then I'm going to make friends with them just because we're all there at the same time, and that can be my new friend group. And we're both interested in, being at the gym. And so there's something to start with, there's plenty of other examples we can invent, but I think that's how you recover from the situation. And then, as you grow your new friend group, your old friends will, maybe they'll come around, maybe they'll come back into your life again. And if they do, awesome. If they don't, just wish them the best of luck, because who knows whose path, if everybody's on their own path in life, and who's to say which one's really better. And if that's the path they want to take, that's the path they're going to take, and that's okay. So it sucks because you're not on the same path anymore, and you're going to miss them, and you're going to remember all the good times we had, and you won't have them again. But there are plenty of good times to be had with the new people. And it's okay that they will miss out on the wonderful things that you plan on doing with your life. Yeah, you want to take it, Ryan?
All right. Wow. I mean, that was excellent. I think that, geez, I think I definitely need to switch this button. It's getting worse every time I stream. All right. Yeah. No, that was actually very well said. Hatsu, if you have any thoughts, please put your thoughts in the chat. But
yeah, I'd love to have a back and forth dialogue too, if you're willing to do that. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. So no, that was a perfect way to start this off. I mean, that was really good. So I really appreciate everything you said, and I think that you took it in a really good direction. Because yeah, it's definitely true that we move on in life, and not everybody else is going to move on with us. And if you've got a bunch of friend groups and you see yourself just sort of losing all of them, it might be a clear indicator that, yeah, it is you, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. And so what I want to do also, along the same vein as this, could there be something wrong with the way that you're treating people or something? You said, am I a bad person? Do people hate me? Am I annoying? I would immediately say, are you a bad person? Probably not. I wouldn't. Here's the thing. Our brains like to be evidence-based. And so when we see something happen over and over and over again, we start to draw a conclusion that says, oh, this must be the reality, that I'm a bad person because everyone's leaving me. Therefore, it must be me, and it must be because I'm a bad person. I want to say, don't do that to yourself, because you don't know that it's true, and it's likely not true. In fact, more oftentimes, those thoughts are actually inaccurate. And so I want you to take away that thought for just now. Do people hate me? Well, could be a case. Okay. It could be that some people dislike you. That's okay. Some people hate the saints, like Mother Teresa. What did Mother Teresa do? She just went and helped the poor, but people hate her. And are you annoying? That one is a possibility as well, right? But what I want you to do is, instead of pointing these questions at yourself and trying to make statements that are not helpful, because these questions aren't really that helpful, because they're pointed in such a direction that make you go, basically, there's something wrong with me and everybody else is okay. What I want you to do is I want you instead to take this as a chance to, how do I say this? It's sort of meticulously or mechanically break down what your options are for improving, rather than getting stifled by these questions of, am I a bad person? Do people hate me? Am I annoying? Instead of allowing those questions into your mind, because those are only going to stop you from progressing, those types of questions. I'm going to ask you to instead ask, what can you do better? Okay, that's a whole different question. So, hold on, you got a flood of comments coming in, which is great. I'm gonna quickly read them. Yeah, something I do know is all the bad traits I have, and when I show some people the list, they agree that it's accurate. Okay. As the friend group for all. Hold on. I asked the friend group for all.
A list.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. That makes sense. A list. For a list, because if people see your negative traits, okay, and people don't like that you're not consistent, you don't keep your word. Okay, fair enough. It's hard to trust a strange. Okay, that's good. Okay. Considered weird. Okay. Very naive. Okay, you're very vulnerable. It's not even a bad thing. You can be easily gaslighted. Okay, that's the fact that you can be easily. Okay, some of these are really weird. Okay. Okay, what I want you to do with this list, this is great. What I want you to do with this list is check yourself. And then check it up against that person who told you all these things. Because chances are, a lot of these things, first of all, a lot of these things, they're not even necessarily bad things. They just can be bad things. But they're not even bad things for you. They're not bad things for other people in you. They're bad things for you. Like being gaslit easily, or being vulnerable, or being disorganized. Those are.
Who cares?
Those are, yeah. Who cares? Who cares? If these things are your bad parts, right? Who cares? Like, seriously, that's no reason not to be your friend. None of these things are things that are should I ever look at someone and say, well, I can't be their friend? The only ones that might affect certain people harshly are timeliness. You know, some people, if you're not there when you say you're going to be there, that hurts them interiorly a lot. I know I've done that to people. I've done that to Joe recently. It's a terrible experience for him, and I experience great sorrow when I do that. But you know, most of these things are not issues to me. When I read something like this, all I really gather is what kind of person put this list together. What kind of person the person is who put the list together, not really what the person is that's being described. And maybe that's just because that's the way my mind operates. But when I read something like this, that's what my mind does. It looks at these things and says, okay, this person is putting these negative traits, they're looking for them, and they're finding these ones, and they're putting them on you. And to me, that's a silly thing to do. And I recognize you asked them for a list. But to come up with this sort of list is kind of, it makes me think that the person is not that good to be around. Because they're very quick to come up with a list like this, which is kind of awkward and strange to me. Because it's not helpful. It's not helpful in any way. The only part that's helpful in here is maybe the time-oriented one. The rest of them, they're not really that helpful. Because they're not asking, how can you improve these things? They're just saying that, oh, you're these things. There's an important lesson that I had to learn, and I think everybody has to learn. You are not the sum of all your faults. You are not just, it's like, who am I? Oh, I'm a lazy, whatever. You just come up with every fault that you can, and you say it about yourself. That's who I am. That's not accurate. Those are things you've done. Those are experiences you've lived through, but that's not who you are. And especially not anything worth being. So edifying yourself in that, reaffirming those traits within you and saying that's who you are and claiming that's who I am is not going to help you, right? And so what I like to do is talk about a few things that maybe you could do that could help your friends, that could help you with your friends. Because to me, I've had communications with you. You seem like a fine person. You've never, all of these things that you just put on display that are the list, none of them I would ever see applicable. You've never been any of those things to me, so I don't really see what this list is about. But you say, well, there is evidence that it must be true because these other people have left me. All these other people are leaving, so it must be true. This list must be true. That's like A plus B equals D. And it's like, well, how do you know that? It's like, these are just random facts. A could be anything, B could be your friend group, and D is like who you are. And it's like, you can't try to figure out who you are based on these random facts. If these are actually your problems. They're too distant. They're too irrelevant. They're not really in sync. Could they be true? They could be. Could they also be not true? They could be. And that's why I say I would hesitate from believing these things about yourself. You might be able to find these things. They are true. I see them in myself. Problem with that is anyone can do that about anything. That's the whole point of it. There's like careers built around. Like, you probably remember these shows from a really long time ago where they would be on stage and it's like, does anyone in the room have they have a dead relative who passed recently. I'm picking up the letter M. The letter M. No one? Oh, the letter N. Oh, yeah, sorry, it was N. Oh, yeah, you're great. Aunt Natalie. Yeah, that's it, yeah. Did she have a, it's like one of those games. You're playing that you're playing that game in your own head. You're like, oh, could these apply? Yeah, technically they could. These must be my problems. And I would say, stray away from that thought line. These aren't your problems. And how am I allowed to say that? I'm looking at the list here and it's just, none of those things have any bearing on whether someone should be your friend or not. None of them are worth leaving someone and saying, oh, they can't be my friend. None of the things on those lists would make anyone who's a good friend go, oh, yeah, no, even if all these things are on this list, there's no way a good friend would ever choose, like, oh, yeah, I can't be their friend anymore. Because that's not even where your heart is. That's not even saying anything about the things that you do for your friends. That's not saying anything about who you are. It's not saying anything. It's just a list of possible bad traits. And so here's my point of that. I think it's probably very much like Kyle said. I don't know where you find these friend groups, but let's say you play Fortnite, right? You play Fortnite, and you make friends there because that's what you do. You know, Kyle was given an example of if you go to the gym, you're going to meet people at the gym, and you're going to find friends at the gym, and that's going to be your new friend group, right? True, but just because you meet people doing the same things as you doesn't mean they're going to be good people, and doesn't mean you're going to click with them. You might click with them for a short period of time, but as soon as time passes, you realize you guys don't really click together. And when you meet people online, like, let's say, I mean, in real life too, you go to school, you just meet people. But if you meet people online, you are going to, especially like in Fortnite, right? What are you going to meet? Well, you're going to meet a lot of toxic people. And so you're going to be hanging out with toxic people. And let's say you're not that toxic of a person, Hatsu. And so these toxic people are around you, and why would they want to be around you? You're not like them. You know? Yeah, exactly. You make new friends on Hatsu. Yeah, on today. Perfect. And you hang out all day. That's awesome. Right. And that's great. Keep doing that. Eventually you're going to meet the people that you can click with. Chances are, most of the people in the world that you meet, like 99% of the people that are in the world aren't going to be in your innermost friend group, and eventually are going to stop talking to you, and eventually are going to lose contact with you. It's just how it works. Because you can only, tolerate so many people in your life. You only have so many people in your life. You only have so much time for people in your life. And people who really want you to spend time with them, I think those people can get on people's nerves. So, Hatsu, if you're in a position where you're like, all my friends are leaving me, so you become somewhat clingy for people's time because you don't have anybody to spend time with. So you're like, oh, this is my only friend group left. So you're trying to spend all your time with them, and you do it in such a way where you're asking them over and over, hey, please spend time with me. 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 Eventually, they're going to get annoyed enough that they're going to kick you out. So if that's happened, that's okay. That's something you can learn from. Is that a reasonable reason? Is that a reasonable reason for someone to kick you out? No. Is that a reasonable reason for someone to say, you can't be my friend anymore? No. If they do that, that means they're not really worthy of being your friend because they can't handle people in their raw form. At least not you. And so if they can't handle you, then you don't want to be their friend. You want someone that can be your friend. You say, hope, you and Joe aren't part in that 99%. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I've had no reason to feel like you've never said or done anything that was harmful, that was rude, that was uncalled for, that was anything on that list. I mean, in all of our encounters that I've had with you, and I've been talking to you for a couple of months now, and never crossed the line in any way. So I don't see what possibly could be the issue from my encounters with you. The only one that's possible is that I can think of is you asking for people's time. But here's the thing: you've always been respectful of my time. So, I don't really. It's just a possibility. It's not even. I'm not even saying look into it. It's just a possibility. There are things that are possible. So what I would ask for you to do is this. Um, your friends matter. And so it matters. I'm gonna try to pose this in a way so that you want to do this activity, because this activity is not fun. This activity is not something that you're gonna like doing. But the thing is you want friends. It's worth doing this activity to have friends. Okay? So, sorry, you're not gonna like this. There's a book. There's a book. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, I think. Cal, did I get that right?
Yep.
Dang. All right.
Good job.
Thanks. Read that book. And I know that's hard. Ugh, reading. Thanks, Mark Fang. You're right. Yeah,
it's an easy book
one.
to read, though. It's really easy.
It's
read.
really easy.
It's not difficult at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and see, even Mark Fang, he says, "Oh, reading." He said, "Oh, that's a good one," right? Yeah, that book. I'll tell you, I've met a lot of people who have read that book, and it's changed their lives and how they just completely, all of their relationships have blossomed because they've read that book. And I know it's not fun to read. I know you hate reading, especially because you can't picture stuff. Okay, that makes sense. It's just words, right? I know. What about listening? You can get an Audible account for free on Amazon, I think, right now. And you get 2 books for free on Audible. I would suggest picking it up and listening to it. There you go. That's my solution for you, because that's a pretty free and okay solution. If you already have Audible or whatever, you've already used your account there, then you might have to pay 15, 20, whatever bucks. But just listen to it, because it's going to teach you real lessons about what you should be doing. It's not going to teach you lessons about, oh, here's where, it might teach you some things like, oh, I'm doing that, I shouldn't do that anymore. Okay, got it. But it's not going to attack you and say, you're all of these bad things, because you're not all of those bad things. That's an inaccurate way to look at yourself and look at the world and look at other people. And so I really suggest you getting that book and listening to it, at the very least, because you're making it clear that friends are important to you. So pick up that book. It's worth trying. And oh, there you go. Libraries often have audiobooks for free for your information. Thanks, Diana. I didn't know that. So I don't know what it's like in the UK, because I think that's where you are. But that's a possibility too. So anyways, I would really highly recommend doing that. If it's worth it to you and your relationships and your friendships to just listen to a book, I'd say do it. It won't be that long of a journey, and it should help you. Yeah, you'll try. Okay, please do, Hatsu, because that's, this is a pretty important thing. Friendships, pretty important thing to have. And I think that you're not a bad person. And I think part of it is, like Kyle said, you're finding the wrong friend groups. But because that's out there. And if you're trying to be a good person in those friend groups, yeah, they'll absolutely kick you out, because you don't meet you're not fun. You're not fun to them, because they're all about having fun. And it's hard to have fun if you're not being one of them. And so, yeah, they absolutely are ruthless. They'll kick you out. No problem. And maybe those are the friends you've made and you didn't know it. You're making friends with whoever wanted to be your friend. And so there you are, So that's quite the possibility. In fact, that's a large chunk of the world. So it's an easy possibility. So anyways, that's what I've got. And I really hope you read that book. I mean, there's so much more I could say. And there are certain things I haven't said in a really long time. Like the most important thing when it comes to dealing with people. To remember this quote, Hatsu. What's most important thing? How they see themselves inside. Not how you look, but how they see themselves inside. Right? So what matters most when you're around people is how they look at themselves, not how they look at you. And so don't try to impress people. You try to make people feel impressive. Right? That's how you make friends. Right? That's how you make a friend of anybody. And if you keep on doing that throughout your relationship, You keep reaffirming them that they're pretty cool people. You keep on shining a light on their lightest, brightest parts of them to amplify those good qualities in them. What you're going to do is you're going to create someone who doesn't want to ever not be your friend, right? Even if they're not a good person, they're going to still want to have you close by because they feel good about you and their relationship, because they're attracted to what you give them, which is a sort of self-satisfaction, a sort of self-esteem. And that's really useful. And that's what a lot of people are looking for in this world. So that's my one tip I'm going to give you. What's the book again? It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Kyle, is there another book, or was that the one? I know that there's another book.
No,
that's the one.
That's good. That's the
Okay.
one it was.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Because there's How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success.
Yeah,
in
that's
Sales,
that's not it.
Yeah. Okay.
You got the right one.
Okay. Good. All right. Good. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna give it back over to my brother if he wants to add anything to the topic.
Yeah, sure. We can do a couple things. Just going back to where Ryan was talking about these questions that you asked. Am I a bad person? And I'm just going to tell you right now. I mean, what is yes, and no.
Right.
I mean, what is bad? What is good? Right. And if you ask 5 different people that question, you're going to get 5 different answers. And so the answer is yes and no. But the important thing is to try and be the good person according to your own conscience and conscience of people you trust and can learn from. And the same thing, the next question was, do people hate me? Yes. And no. Everybody has somebody who hates them. Everybody has people that don't. I mean, it's just part of life. And then the third question again was, am I annoying? And again, yes and no. I have annoyed many people, and I have been annoyed by many people. But I'm not generally annoying. At least I don't think so.
No, you're fine.
And it's just whatever. You're gonna annoy somebody, and that's okay. So those questions, again, they're not the right questions, and the answer is yes and no to all of them. So it's like whatever. But I don't know where you got this list of negative traits from, but I would recommend that you just literally, like, if it's on the computer, just print it out, okay, delete it from everywhere, and then burn it and let it go up in smoke and be gone forever, because this is all just smoke. The list makes no sense. You can't be somebody. At the beginning of it, it's talking about you basically being a liar. You don't keep your word. You're hard to trust. And then later on, they're talking about how you trust people too easily. That doesn't make sense. Liars do not trust other people ever.
Right.
If someone isn't trusting you, it's probably because they're lying to your face. That's not a you problem. That's a them problem. That is not you. That is them. And then they're talking about you being easily gaslighted. Well, maybe that's true. But if it is, then now throw away this whole list, because they're inventing your personality for you by gaslighting you, this list. This list makes no sense. There's nothing in here that's helpful. None of it even they're talking about you being inconsistent at the beginning of it, but then this whole list isn't even consistent within itself. They talk in here about you being naive. My guess is they just disagree with you. A lot of people, when they disagree with you, they just insult your character because they don't know how to actually think about it. And they're just going to call you naive because you're not on their level, when the reality is they haven't taken the 5 seconds themselves to think about it and get on yours. It's just how it is with when people are going to say this stuff about you. They haven't, if they were really something you were naive about, they would explain it to you and hopefully try and educate, and you can work together and talk about the things, not just you're naive, shut up, go away. So more than likely this whole list applies to them and not you.
Yeah, to me it seems like they're
It's so seriously, if they handed it to you, burn it. If it's on a computer, something, delete all copies of it, print it out and burn it anyway. I mean, it's just such a junk list. So yeah. That's all I gotta say. I mean, it's just terrible.
All right.
So
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Hatsu. I really appreciate you sharing this with us, and I know that this is a sensitive thing. I know that it's not easy to be on the receiving end of everyone leaving you, and it does make you feel like, okay, clearly I'm the problem, and it could be that, sure, maybe you are some of the problem, but none of that is helpful. And being the problem and identifying, okay, I'm the problem, and assuming maybe a bunch of different things isn't helpful. What is helpful is going, okay, maybe I don't have this all figured out. Let's learn from someone who does. Now that is a good active. That's a good active way forward. You don't go and say, I want to be a professional baseball player, and go, up to the bat and realize, oh, okay, I don't know how to bat. I don't know how to pitch. My breath smells. I sat on my tomato sandwich today, and honestly, the guy in the subway next to me smelled like a tuna fish. So, man, I don't know how I'm ever going to get good at baseball. And then leave it there and say, the problem was me. I guess the problem is me. I'm not cut out for baseball. I must be a bad baseball player. It's like, well, maybe you are. Why don't you learn some? And it's like, okay, that's the right foot. Now, that's the right setting. It's like, okay, I want to learn to be good at baseball. Now you can move forward, right? But to say, I'm just not good at making friends, or, etc., it's not helpful. And I just want to, I'm not even saying that you're doing that. I just want to really lead you away from that thought process, because it's not going to take you anywhere useful. It's only going to get you down in the gutters, and you already are feeling down in the gutters. And it's easy to do that. It's so easy to do that because our brains, they're awkwardly evidence-based, and they will take something and say, haha, that's evidence for the fact that I'm bad. Aha, that's evidence for the fact that I'm bad. And it's like, we do that, and it's not good. So we need to dismiss those thoughts sometimes. Recognize that, you know what? Most people only have 2, 3, maybe close friends. Most people. And if you think about how many people there are in the world, what is it, 7 billion or something? Something crazy. That's a very small percentage of people that are close friends, and to expect, everybody, to expect even a few friends is all tall order. It doesn't mean you shouldn't expect it. It doesn't mean you can't get there. It doesn't mean you won't find them. It doesn't mean you can't make them. I'm not saying that the percentages are against you. What I am saying is what you're experiencing is fairly normal. And it's probably the case that the current friend groups you are in, here's the thing. If there's a person who's just kicking people out, who hasn't made it clear what the person was doing wrong, then that's probably not a group you want to be in. And if you feel like a lot of your groups, a lot of your friends have done that to you, it's probably because you're moving forward without them. And you're growing as a person, and they're stuck where they are, and they don't treat people well, and you don't want to be with people who don't treat people well. Like, good friends don't just leave friends up and hanging. They're like, oh, dude, you messed up. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. And let's get back on track and be friends. I would rather be your friend than give up just because you made this mistake, or because you've made this mistake over and over and over and over. The point is, I'm your friend, and I'm there for you, And I'm there for you right here, right now, in this problem that you have. But they're not even willing to do that and be constructive whatsoever, then I think it's like, well, then forget them. Go make friends that can literally actually be friends. You know, that's the way I feel about it. So I mean, we're not just saying this because you're on stream and we're trying to make sure that you feel like you had a good experience on our stream. This is the reality. We're not just on your side because we only heard your story. While we did only hear your story, actually, we heard a lot in the story that you gave us about your list. That list says a pretty big story about, unfortunately, the kind of person that you are with. And that person needs someone that's friendly enough to hang with them in their problems. And you were that person for them. And if they're going to get rid of you, then that they can do that. But it's not helpful for them. So, I mean, people get rid of good people just because they can't, I don't know, whatever reason. They can't commiserate, they can't whatever, who knows. But Hatsu, you just keep being you and get that book, read it, and maybe you'll learn some things. You're like, oh, you know what? I have been doing this part wrong, or oh, I could start doing this and see what happens, and see where it takes you. I think it's worth it. It's worth the price. It's worth the time, and because this is an important issue to you and to everybody. Your friends are important. Yeah. Recognize your own dignity. Don't think you're not worth something, because you are. You are worth a lot, Hatsu. You're worth more than the mind can ever imagine, because you have an entire life that is going to be impactful on the people around you, and you're gonna do amazing things just by being with people. And if people shut you out, then oh well. You know, that doesn't mean you're not a good person. The people who shut people out generally, not always, because there are occasions where you're like, I gotta shut that person out. They're toxic in my life. Yes, that's true. That does happen. But most of the time, that doesn't happen fast. You know, that generally takes a long time to get there. And you know, we aren't in this one-on-one dialogue for very long. So maybe there are some toxic traits that you need to work through. It's quite possible. We all have issues. We all have some toxicity in us that we have to work through. And so maybe that book will point out something that you're like, oh, I am a little toxic in this area. I could do some work here. And that will, because what it does is it opens up your mind to your own actions and possibilities. Like, oh, I actually do this. Oh, that's not good. Okay, let me fix that. And it gives you a direction. So I really hope that you do read books or at least listen to it. Yeah. Sorry, that was a long closer.
Yeah. Then at least the criticism will be real.
Yeah.
You know, not just dumb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Whoever put that list together, I'm not going to try to shame them, but the list was not helpful. The list was not pointing out things that you've been doing wrong so much as it was just let's come up with a bunch of things that I could put on this person that are bad things, and then it was, like Kyle said, entirely inconsistent with itself, and a lot of them aren't even bad things. They're just like traits. It's like being vulnerable. Okay, here's the thing: in a friendship, there is vulnerability is part of the friendship that you need to have a good friendship. You need to be vulnerable, or else you're not going to have a good friendship. Like, that's a plus. That means you were doing it right, and they weren't ready for that. So it's like, It's just not. I'm sorry. Sorry to whoever wrote that list. But you got to think about it harder if you're going to try to be helpful, because that wasn't helpful at all. And it wasn't put together in such a way that it looked like it was trying to be helpful. It was looking like it was trying to just shame you. So don't take it, man. Don't take it. Yeah. Anyways, thank you, Hatsu. Thank you so much for this topic. I hope that we've been helpful. I hope that the listening of that book will be helpful. And we hope you the best in this journey, because lifelong friends are hard to find. They are. And it's worth it if you do find them. And so we wish you the best. We hope you find those people, whomever they are, from all sorts of different people. And they don't just have to be 2 or 3. I mean, it can be 10 people. And maybe some of them you've already found. and you'll continue that journey in life with them, and you'll find yourself in that position with them. So yeah, that's what I got. Thank you so much, Hatsu. Appreciate it. Yeah. Let's go on to another topic. I'm gonna mark this one as answered this time. That way, I don't make the same mistake as last time. And move on. All right. Let's see here. We've got. Did we do this one yet? We didn't do this one. And they solved this issue. Hold on. Let me double check we didn't do this one. I'm sorry. I really should have marked the ones we did last time.
You don't have to do all 8 hours at once. You can just, half hour here, half hour there. That'll take you 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You do a half hour a day. Really simple.
Yeah, just take a half-hour strides. Yeah, for sure. Don't do 8
or
hours.
Even 15. If you do 15 minutes a day, you'll still, get through it in
a month,
2 weeks, or a month.
Oh,
yeah, that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's
actually, yeah. When you read that book, you don't read that book straight through. No one, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to take it in little chunks at a time, anyways, so that you can actually, your brain has time to develop the different topics. So just take it one topic at a time if you want. Okay, so you know what? Let's see. I'm just going to double check what else is here. April 12th. Let's do this one. Okay, this one's from Bing. And it's a little old, so I apologize to Bing. They said we can do this whenever now, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that topic up. This topic is a very, very long topic, so I hope you'll bear with us. It's you can read it on the screen with us. It reads as follows. Oh, actually, the title is "How to Be Rid of Stress" from Bing, and it reads as follows. How do I get rid of stress? That was it. How do I get rid of stress? This is a great question. This is a really good question, actually. I think this is something that probably everyone has to deal with at some point in their life. Whether or not they actually ever get rid of it is another question. But just the topic of stress and of its difficulties and how you manage it, or how you completely get rid of it, is an important thing. Great question indeed. Yes, thank you, Jessica. I agree. Thank you, Bing, for this wonderful question. Honestly, there's a lot that I can say on this. I happen to be a person that doesn't get stressed a whole lot, but part of that is also my personality. But here's the thing. We can learn from each other's personalities and adopt those traits of each other's personalities. So it's okay to be a different personality of someone and go, I can try to adopt that trait into my being. So there are definitely personalities out there that don't get stressed as much, and I'll try to share some of that with you. But there's also, people who do get stressed really easily, and they have their own things that they could say about this topic. So if anybody is in the chat that has any pointers on this, on how you get rid of stress, please share it, because it could be very helpful. Because we're all in a different place, and we've all had different answers, I'm sure. So any answer is really helpful. So thank you, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna give it over to Kyle though for now and see what he's got to say. I'm sure that he's done a fair amount of this. He's been in a lot of stressful scenarios, daily even. So I'd like to see what he's got to say.
I think that just don't get stressed, man.
All right,
the best
thanks
thing
for
you can do.
Yeah,
and then you don't have to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's true.
I like that. No, I think it really depends. everybody is going to experience stress differently for different reasons, and there's different types of stress. And so it really depends on where the stress is coming from. I mean, already in the chat, we have some great advice: eat right, exercise, sleep the correct amount, more than 5 minutes. But so those are like physical stressors, right? And a lot of people have these sort of issues. It could be, if you eat too much or you don't eat enough. It could be if you exercise none, could be even exercising too much, because you put such a physical strain on your body that you're just ticked off emotionally because your body's too hard trying to repair itself and then regulating your emotional control. Same thing with sleep. If you sleep too little, then it'll be irritated all the time. If you sleep too much, also be irritated. Probably at yourself because you slept too much. And so these are all sort of physical stressors, but then there's the world around you type stress. What's happening in your life and how do you deal with that? And I always like to. One thing I know for sure is that once everything's said and done, it's all going to be said and done. And if that outcome is going to be good, if you can have faith that when everything's said and done, if you can have faith that will be a good thing, then what's going on right now isn't that important, because it will work out in the end. And I truly believe that. It might get harder, it might get easier for a little bit, hard again, but at the end of time, it's the great equalizer. Everything's as it should be. Because that's one way that I view the world that way. And so there's not a whole lot of things that really stress me out, because even in emergency situations, it's a very temporary stress. And the stress level is like, boom, get things done, fix the situation as it is now. But then immediately after, it's like, okay, if your house is on fire, obviously don't just sit there and do nothing, get out of the house, or like, maybe save it, open the door for your pets, or, get them whatever, but like do what you have to do in the moment. But, while the house is burning, everybody's safe. That's just stuff in there, and it's fine. You can get stuff again. So it really just depends on what the stress is about. And so I think the big thing just to remember is, like, stress is usually temporary chaos. When you are in this, I mean, it's just at least when it's the world around you type stress, right? Even if it's physical stress, I mean, that's still chaos. It's just chaos within your bodily habits and stuff. But when there's stress around you and it's just chaos in the world, right? It's stressful because your brain is having a hard time figuring out how everything's going to be okay, right? And so the cure to that is just, I think, in a lot of ways, believing that it will be okay. Whether I have anything to say about it or not, the world will be okay, because the world doesn't revolve around me anyways. My world does, but the whole world doesn't. And there's a lot more going on. And even if I'm having a bad time, not everybody is. And so at least things are going okay for them. And then, since I know that most stresses are temporary, I know that I can recover. And just knowing that that's possible, calm me down a little bit and say, okay, this sucks right now. Okay, but it might be better in 5 minutes. And if it's not, okay, maybe 5 minutes after that. But at some point, this issue is going to be gone, or I'm going to be gone. And then I won't be able to care about it anymore anyway. So, and so at some point, there's an end. And if you have faith that that end can be good, then you can sort of back away from worrying about it just a little bit. Just get that stress level down a little bit to the point where you can, if you can understand that there is a good solution, then you can start to find it and your brain can start organizing the chaos. Once you can start, but if you're too stressed out to organize, it's time to just, back away from the situation. Just help yourself to understand that the future isn't destroyed because of one thing that's happened, or 7 thing, or 500 things that are happening right now. Yes, they affect the future, but they don't determine it, because only you can really determine your own future, the choices you make. And so if you can look to your future and you can say, no, this can be better. And if you don't believe it can be better, then you're wrong. Sorry. You're just wrong. And, if you need help understanding that, talk to Ryan. He'll probably be able to help you out a little better. I'm just going to tell you you're wrong and, knock it off. But it can be better. And once you can understand that, then your brain will start to unravel that knot a little bit, get rid of that chaos, because it's saying, like, now you have this end destination where it's like, okay, this is where I want to be. And maybe I'm not heading there right now, but now I can see where I'm going. Right. So now you can start to course correct. And that little bit of course correction, organization, trying to disseminate what's going on, figure it out a little bit. And now it's like, okay, there you go. Now you can start, once you know who you are and where you're going, right? The stressful stuff just becomes like waves under a boat, so you can kind of float through it. It's still going to knock you around a little bit, but if you have a direction, and you understand that nothing is final until you're dead, you've got opportunity to ride out the waves and continue on. That's kind of how I kind of look at the world a little bit. And I mean, that's not the whole way I look at the world, but I think that's how I look at the world, in a way to sort of avoid being lost in this sort of like sea of stress. Like, even if things are chaotic right now, I know they're not going to stay that way, because something's going to happen. Whether it's me doing something or somebody else doing something, it just can't stay that way forever. This world's not designed like that. Things are always changing. The only thing constant is change, right? And so if stuff's going bad now, I mean, it can only change and get better. Or I guess it could change and get worse too, but at least it'll be changed, and maybe this worst thing is easier to figure out in some ways than the thing you're dealing with now, because it's put you in such a bad place that you have nothing left to do but figure it out, instead of just wonder how it could get worse. So yeah. Other than that, I think too, if sometimes we can mistake things for other things. A lot of times we feel like it's the world pushing us, doing all this stuff, when really we just needed a nap. And so, take a nap. Or if you found that that's not working, maybe you are sleeping too much. I mean, too much sleep can cause depression. So then the answer is exercise. Go out, do something. And so you really have to look at your whole life and just kind of see, where is the stress coming from? Is it actually coming from outside? Is it coming from inside? Where is it originating? And I think once you know that, then you can start to handle it. But put yourself on I think if you put yourself on if you can put yourself in a situation where you have a really sort of, I don't want to say rigid, but regular mode of being. I don't know if that, like, maybe keep a regular schedule, or like level out your emotional highs and lows, because you've got things planned a little bit better. Or just to stay consistent in your thought process. I think you can go a long way to understanding where stress is coming from, because if you can sort of like level this out, the playing field, so to speak, you'll see the rocks and everything that's in your way or causing things exactly as they are. If you're all over the place and you're doing something different every day, you don't know exactly what the problem is. So if you if you have if you have the ability to make a more regular sleeping schedule where you guarantee every night I'm going to get this much sleep, right? And then I'm going to always eat my meals at this time. And this is how much food I'm going to eat. And I'm always going to exercise here, right? If you do those, then you can, sort of like level out your days. Then you can actually see, okay, so it is this stuff or it wasn't. And if it wasn't, now you can start to see where stuff's coming and hitting you. If it's hitting you from emotional or hitting you at school or work or whatever you're doing, you can kind of see it. Like if it's every time a test comes out, you're totally freaked out. Well, now we know, okay, so it's tests, it's testing, it's situations where your skill or your knowledge is under attack. Your skill level, your knowledge level is under attack. So right? Important to me is I'm right, and I might find out that I'm wrong, and that is stressful. Right? And so now you know what the problem is. And so we can figure that out. I'm stressed out when I find out I might be wrong. And that's normal. And you're supposed to be, because again, that's just a situation of chaos in your head. You just can't you can't be wrong, because then what does anything mean anymore? What else are you wrong about? And so it's totally cool. But then the question is like, okay, so when you're wrong or you find out that you might be wrong, that's okay. Now you just get to adjust your starting position, right? You get to adjust your worldview. You get to move from that point of unknowing to this point of knowing. And now that you know, how much farther can you go? And that's great. That's really great. Now you take a test and you fail it, great. That sounds silly, but really that's great, because now one of two things, right? If you thought you knew it before and you found out you didn't, that's good, because now you're not going to keep on in ignorance, right? You're going to be able to move forward. Okay, I need to work on this because I thought I knew that was totally wrong. Let's fix it, and now you can move forward and you can become better. Now, if you knew you didn't know it and you didn't study and then you still didn't know it, now it's just a fear of what are other people going to think about you having failed. Right? And you have no one to blame but yourself, right? Because you didn't do the work to get the knowledge in your head to be able to move forward. But that's okay. Just don't do it again. If you want to avoid the stress, or do it again and keep being stressed out and understand that now you're right, you're just going to be stressful on purpose. That's kind of your choice. So yeah. Yeah, what you got, Ryan?
Yeah, no, that was great. I mean, there's so many good things you said, Kyle, and what's in the chat. There's a common theme going on in the chat with some of the things you guys said, which is sort of, calm yourself, which is obvious, but it's not obvious. A lot of people, it comes in the form of meditation or perhaps in the form of contemplation. Some people said that they, listen to relaxing music and just think, actually, one of them said they used to take long drives. That was Saule. Saule said he used to take long drives. You can't do that anymore, but that was a really great de-stressor. And yeah, for sure. What I do is a very similar thing. Whenever I'm stressed out about something, which is very, very seldom, very rare, but if I am, I pace. I stop my activities that I'm doing. I slow down to a silence. And then I walk around a room and think about what I need to think about and get done in my brain so that I'm no longer stressed. Silence is a great way to solve your stress. And I don't mean necessarily silence in the capacity of no sound is allowed. You could maybe listen to music if that helps. For me, it doesn't usually, but for some people it does. More so, I mean silence the activities, silence the action, so you can take time to process your stuff. Because you can't process your thoughts and be active in the world at the same time. Because your brain just can't most of the time. do that unless you're doing a very monotonous activity that you've been doing for hours and it doesn't take any brain power anymore. But generally speaking, that's not something that you're stressed about. So stop doing the thing that you're stressed about for just a little bit. Take some time to be at peace in the silence. I feel like that's a really big help, and that seems to be a pretty common theme among the people that made statements. And it seems counterintuitive, and it's like, well, I'm not getting the thing done that I'm stressed about. So how is that going to be helpful? And the answer is you are overloading your brain, and that's why you're stressed. It's not that the activity is causing the stress, it's that your brain is developing stress within inside of itself. And you need to stop that from happening so you can do the activity with clarity rather than trying to do it while your brain is overwhelmed. And so that's the solution right there. As for other routes, as for other notes to be talked about on top of that, I feel like most people, they don't know it, but they're searching for peace. One of the things that people are searching for most in the world, one of the things that people find the most valuable in the world is peace. But most people don't know they're looking for it, and they don't know where to find it, even if they did. But peace can come about. I mean, and we've talked about this on the show before. You can have peace and amidst a war. You can be at peace while at the same time there's this big struggle looming over you or whatever. Because this sort of sense of peace is not the lack of problems. Peace isn't a lack of struggle or a lack of things in your way from doing the things you want to do. Things impeding upon your freedoms and choices and so on. That's not peace. Peace itself is recognizing things are going to be okay and that you don't have to worry so much. And that, I don't know how to better define it than that, I suppose. But when you find it, you know what it is, and it's there, and you're like, okay, I'm at peace. I see that there's a problem. It's there. I'm going to address it. At the same time, I feel so calm and easy and peaceful and just like, hey, let's go do it. There's not a war going on inside here. There's a war going on out there. There's not a war going on inside here, and I'm at peace. And I know probably many of you haven't done this, but if you ever go to a church and you just kneel down and you start praying, maybe you don't even pray, you just kneel down, you find that sense of peace. Why? Because it's quiet. There's nothing else going on in the room, but here's the main thing. You don't feel like you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think that's one of the main sources of peace, is when you recognize I'm in the right place at the right time. Where I am and what I'm doing right now matters. And there's a peace in that. And it can be hard because you could be there and you can be in emotional turmoil. But at the same time as you're in that emotional turmoil, you can be there sitting on your knees or kneeling on your knees, whatever, and just be there. Maybe even just sitting, just in the back of the church, whatever. And you recognize, like, you know what? I'm in the right place at the right time. I don't feel overwhelmed. And I'm not saying that's going to be everyone's experience, because not everybody here believes in God. But here's my point about that. You can take that with you on your journey. When you think that you're not in the right place, that's what causes stress. I mean, stress in general is like something's going wrong. I'm not where I'm supposed to be, or I haven't done the things I was supposed to do, or I'm not good enough for this, right? But when you recognize, you know what, I'm here, and this is the right place and the right time. When your brain fully believes that, the stress is gone. What I used to do, because of my personality, was this, and I wouldn't recommend this. I would just devalue all of the things that were stressing me out. Just say, oh, this is stressing me out. Well, it doesn't matter now. I don't care about that thing anymore. I don't care about it anymore. And so now that stress is gone. Like, oh, it's homework. You haven't done your homework. Well, I don't care about school. I don't care about getting my homework in. I don't care about it. It's pointless to me. It really is. It's just 100% pointless. I would tell myself that. And then all the stress would be gone. And that's not really that helpful. It can be true. It can be true that sometimes you need to do that about certain things because there are things that you are putting way too much value on. Humility is a great solver of stress because humility is the mind ordered correctly towards what is valued, right? When you're valuing everything in its right position and treating it as such, that's humility. And so when you look at the world and you go, okay, this value is higher than this one, these types of things. When you can associate that and you can look at other people and treat other people with a sense of dignity and humility, these things are all centered on this idea. And so when you are stressed about something, it might be because there's a disordered set of values that you're putting the values in the wrong order. You're putting your test above like your own health, or you're putting the test above your own reputation or your liveliness, or you're putting your test about this school subject about math or whatever it is above God. Whatever it is, you're putting this too high. And sometimes, you do need to lower that. But that's not always the answer, but it could be. And so just like Kyle said, you have to evaluate those things. You have to evaluate those things and say, am I putting too much emphasis on this? Just to sort of reiterate everything Kyle said. But also, one last thing I can think about here is faith. And this is a weird statement because faith, I'm not talking about necessarily God, though I am, but it's not necessarily. What I mean is this. So faith is a weird word because we think it means several things and it often means some other things. So I'm going to quite quickly define faith because it's one of the most confused words in the history of English, the word faith. Faith can mean a couple of different things. It can mean trust, for example. I have faith in, Kyle's ability to be on Don't Worry Wednesday and do a good job, right? I have faith in that. What does that mean? I trust in his ability. I trust that. I expect that, right? And I wouldn't expect any different. That's faith, sure. There's another sense of faith that's used, and it means to be able to see. It means to be able to see. So, for example, in the religious context, usually when we say, I have faith in something or something by faith, right? It's because faith is a gift, right? We're given faith, and that faith is what is personally within us that allows us to see God in the world, active, right? To see how he's interacting with us or interacting with the world around us. And that's a gift. We don't just have that, but we can build it up. Now, how am I applying this in the world outside of religion? It's this. You need to have faith, whatever your religion is, okay? You need to be able to have faith in your life and the world around you, or stress is inevitable. If you do not have the eyes to see the possibilities of the future, then you need to develop those eyes to see it, right? If you cannot see the potential of your future, if you cannot see the potential of good coming out from bad, right? Which happens all the time, right? If we have a line that says there's a reason for everything. If you don't have faith in that line, right? If you cannot see that there's a reason for everything, you need to develop that talent, right? And so that's my use of faith here, to be able to recognize something that isn't inherently visible, but it is real, and it's visible once you recognize the reality of it, right? And that's our experience with God. But that's also the experience with there's a reason for everything. So when you experience something bad and you're not able to draw out what possible goods can come from it, you need to develop that faith. You need to develop that ability to see the good possibilities. Because if you can do that, you have solved a great deal of your stress. And so when you take time, earlier I pointed to Saule, who said, I just go on long drives. What that does is it calms your mind. It gives you an environment where you have time to think about the potentials of your struggle and what can come out of it that are good, right? But that requires the ability to see good. If you don't have the ability to see that, again, you have to develop that within you. Is it a personality trait? Not exactly. It could be considered one, but really it's just a talent, an inner talent within inside of you that you have to develop. If you spend a lot of time noticing, you can do the exact opposite thing. You can spend a lot of time in your brain figuring out what bad could come from something. That's called anxiety. And a lot of people are really good at that. But if you have the ability to develop, or if you have developed the ability to see what's good in the world around you, what can come that's good, then that is generally what develops peace, which is the opposite of anxiety, basically. So if you have a lot of anxiety, spend time thinking about the potential goods. Focus on those and train your mind to start making a habit of focusing on potential good rather than potential bad. And you will develop that faith. You will develop that ability to see. You'll develop that gift, that ability to see what lies ahead of you that could be good. And a lot of times what you'll find is unlike anxiety, which most of the time your worst fears don't ever come true, you'll find that generally your positives do. Because the world, the way that it moves forward, it actually does yield positive results out of negative situations, if you choose to make it so. Because you have to make that choice and act on it. But if you don't, your negatives will just stay negative. So you do have to have a part in it. It's not like, oh, if I believe this will happen, it will happen. No. You have to see it so that you can act on it. And once you see it and you act on it, it's going to happen, right? So that's a really big stress solver, is if you can develop the eyes to see the potential good out of any scenario ever. No matter what you're faced with in life, something happens, it's bad. You're like, okay, but what goods are there in this? And your brain just automatically has a habit of asking those questions and finding those answers. And that is a great stress solver. So, that's what I got. And I think that's my best. That's my personal best that I can give you. For me, a lot of that answer is God. I will be honest with you, but I recognize that that's wisdom right there. That's wisdom. And it applies across the board, no matter what your faith is in. But for me, my ultimate faith is in God, because I recognize I don't have the ability to make everything good, but He does. In the end of time, when everything's dead and gone, He does. And so that's where I put my faith. And so that's what that is. But yeah, I think I spelled it out pretty well. There's a lot of peace there that you can find. So I hope that you can try to take some of these opportunities up. And again, reading the chat, there's a lot of really good tips, really good nuggets of activities you can try and things like that. So real life activities, other than me just kind of giving you the philosophical and roundabout general idea of something to go act it out into the world yourself. But anyways, yeah, Kyle, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, first of all, that was fantastic, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the only thing I would add is sometimes stress is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we shouldn't run away from stress necessarily, unless it's overwhelming, right? Overwhelming stress is what we want to get rid of. stress that debilitates, stress that causes your health to decline. But you do want some stress in your life, right? Because all that stress means is that you're using your whatever capacity you have, wherever the stress is. Whether it's physical stress, well, that must mean you're doing something physically. Emotional stress, well, you're going through something emotional, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Sometimes it's a chance or an opportunity to exercise that particular muscle. Somebody who never has to deal with emotional distress is never going to actually be good at dealing with emotions, right? And so when something big hits them, they're immediately overwhelmed, so we don't want to be necessarily killing stress all the time. I think it's good to be at a low level of stress, something that keeps you in shape, so to speak.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
If you're just a little stressed, I mean that can be good as long as you don't let it become debilitating, right? And I think, when I think about how I generally operate, I would say there's probably a baseline level of stress, pretty much always. And if there's not, I don't know. I don't think there ever. I don't know what that. I think that means I'm not trying to accomplish anything. Because as soon as you have a goal, there's a drive and some sort of stress to hit that goal, right? Whatever it is. I mean, it could be like making dinner, right? That's a little stress. Not like it's a huge thing, but I have to get up and do something to make dinner, right? But if I'm not trying to do anything with my life, then yeah, I'll never be stressed out. It's kind of like what Ryan was saying earlier about not caring about the things that stress you out. I don't care about that then. And then the problem is if you ignore all your problems, your problems turn into monsters. And the longer you ignore the monsters, the bigger they get. And so now if you've been ignoring your monsters for a long time, that can sound pretty bad. But that's, so there's a balance, right? You don't want to be so stressed out you can't think straight, and I mean, for me, that happens once in a while. But it's like I just have to take a break. When that happens, it's time to take a break, think about something else entirely, push all of that information, because usually with me that's what it's like, information overload, too much stuff going on up there. And so I have to push it all out with something basically mindless. Maybe it's watch a movie, play a video game. It's usually not hang out with people. That usually stresses me out more.
Yeah, it depends on the kind of person you are. You show each to their own. But yeah.
Some people, that's go to a party. Some people, that's go hang out with your friends and play board game, whatever, right? Like everybody's different. But like, I have to push it out so that when I come back to the problem, it's fresh and I can pick up with this base level of stress again. That's normal and expected, right? We don't want to be afraid of stress, right? But we don't want it to get out of hand. That's when you kind of need to learn your specific trick, right? You need to know when you're getting too stressed, and then how do you back away from it? Like for me, it's just flush the brain. And for other people, it's fill the brain with as much other stuff as possible. And it's just two different modes of dealing with the problem. But the key is, if there is a stress in your life and it's something that is within your ability to solve, right, then you should come back to it. If there's a stress in your life that's completely out of your control, like let's say you're stressed out about the war in Ukraine right now. There's very, very little you can do individually. At least for me, there's almost nothing I can do. Almost nothing, right? So for me to spend an amazing amount of time thinking about it, contemplating it, worrying about it, going through these different scenarios, what happens if this, it's not going to help anybody. It's pointless. Like staying in that kind of stress situation isn't going to help. And that's maybe a type of stressor that you just want to flush and not come back to if you can. Now, if I'm stressed out about what I'm going to where I'm going to find money to eat next month, right? That's something that's in my control and something I should handle, right? And so even if it's too stressful right now, do what I need to do to lower it down to where it's a little bit more manageable. And then I can say, oh, okay, I'll go work and make some money, it's our solve it this way, right? And so I guess it's we don't always want to run away from stress. We want to run away from stress that's outside of our ability to influence, outside of our circle of influence. Like those stressors are, and we want to stay away from stress that's negative self-talk, things like that. That's not helpful. But life is going to be stressful. That's just kind of one of the things about the world. It's designed for us to work. It's not designed for us to sit here and do nothing. And interesting, our brains use more energy in a day than anything else. You could work out, do whatever you want all day long, and your brain will have used more energy. And so working through this stuff is very taxing. And so if it's something that you can't control, think about it. It's a lot of energy that we're spending, right? Time, thoughts, all this. Like you eat food and you just turn that whole sandwich into thinking about something that has nothing to do with you, right? That's stressful. So get rid of those. But if the stress is towards a good goal, keep it. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, flush it and then come back to it again. Flush it with the expectation that you're going to pick it up. It's going to be easier to flush too, because you can know that I am coming back to this. This isn't going away forever. This is going away for like a day, or a week or whatever it is. Like some people, they take vacations and I can't. For me, if I take a vacation, I the whole time I'm thinking, I got all this stuff to do. It's really hard for me to take.
Yeah, all you can think about on vacation is the things that you need to do when you get back from vacation. Yeah.
But other people, they can go and they can forget everything, and it's great, and that's good for them. If you can do that, do it. Not, don't. But you have to figure your own self out, I guess. But yeah, so I just wanted to throw that in there. Some stress is good, and you want it in your life, because if you're not stretched, by something, then you're just gonna, really just regress. You got to keep. It's like I play in high school. I played clarinet, and in college, right? I used to play every day a lot, but I haven't played in a long time, and so like I'm way worse than I was when I was in high school, like way worse. And so like I can't play nearly as well. And so that's the thing with with stress sometimes too, is it keeps you fresh. So yeah.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. Honestly, I don't think I have anything I can add to that. I think that we both gave it our best, and I hope that it's helpful, Ping, and and everybody else here, because we all have to deal with stress. It's a part of our life. And I really like what you said about stress is a good thing. Overwhelmed by it is not, and that's accurate. Obviously, just like you said, when you're working out and you're building your muscles, what you're doing is just stressing your muscles. And so, yeah, you definitely need some of that in your life. To run away from it entirely is not good. But yeah, thank you so much, Bing. You're awesome. And we love you, and we hope that if you have watched this, or if you do watch this in the future, that it's helpful, and that it proves useful on your journey forward. So we have 15 minutes left. Are you okay with doing another topic? Kyle?
Yeah, if you want, whatever you want.
Okay.
It's your show.
Yeah, but you're the one. You're the guest that's got other things to do in your life, and I don't know how long you got. So
yeah, that's all right. That's all right. We'll whatever you want. I just do want to say real quick though, Terry, welcome back. I haven't been here for months either. So
Great.
we have that in common.
Yeah, that's great. Well, okay. I'm gonna do this one. If I start to read this and anybody in the chat says this is one you did before, please let me know. Pretty sure we didn't do this one. The thing is, I curated it, so it makes me think that maybe I did it, but I don't think I did. I don't think we did this on the stream. So if it sounds overly familiar, please let me know. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up on the stream for all, so you can read along if you desire to. And so here it is. This is from Nihilus, and it reads as follows. Scared.
This one's really short. Sorry.
This one's really short. Just a few letters.
The other one was really long. This one's so short.
Comparatively, absolutely. The title scared of my longest friendship ending. There we go. That's how you speak English. I have a friend I have known for almost a decade now, and he's literally my best friend and usually the person I can always go to. There have at times been times where we talk less in periods or whatever, but we've always been great at being able to go to each other. 2 years ago, he ended a relationship that he was in with one of our mutual friends. He was quite bummed about this for some time, but honestly, I never heard too much about their relations together. Some time ago, me, her, the mutual friend, and 3 other friends from the gymnasium we all went on a boat trip together for a week. During this trip, I ended up kissing her. It felt right at the time, but now afterwards, I can acknowledge that I do not have feelings for her or wish to be in a relationship with her. After the trip, I felt a sense of guilt about the entire situation. So after contacting a different friend and hearing their opinion, I told my friend about it, just as a heads up, since I don't feel like it is anything I want to hide from him in any way. And I also couldn't see it being anything I'd want to hide from him in any capacity. However, I have not been able to contact him at all since telling him this. I have tried talking to him on things such as Discord or in real life. I have even called multiple times to see if we could talk anything out. But I've been unable to get even a word out of him ever since I told him. It has now been almost a week of no contact, which of course, if he is angry, it is alright if he wants some time. I just find it so hard to not know what he is thinking, since I have no idea how he is feeling about the entire situation. That's from Nihilus. Now, luckily, this was it's not too long ago, but it was a couple of weeks ago now, and Nihilus has informed me that they did finally get to talk and they worked it out and it was all good. So that's awesome. But it doesn't mean it's not worth talking about, because this is a sort of situation that can happen to anybody. Maybe change the details, but do something behind someone's back, not really thinking that it's behind their back or bad or anything, and then all of a sudden now your relationship is in contest and they don't talk to you for a week and you're like, oh gosh, I've really messed up this time. I can't even get a hold of them to figure out how they're feeling. That's a very relatable situation, one that probably a lot of us have been in before, in one way or another. But yeah, the good news is the friendship is already fixed for them. So I'm happy to hear that. I think that's really great. Shows some integrity for their relationship, their friendship that they have. I think it's still worth talking about. So let's do that. So Kyle, what do you got to say about all of this?
first I want to recap because I think
Yeah.
that was long. So if I understand correctly, let me just make sure I understand correctly. So Nihilus has a longtime friend
Mm-hmm.
who was dating
Mm-hmm.
somebody. They
Mm-hmm.
split,
Mm-hmm.
and then Nihilus was on a trip with this other person and ended up kissing them,
Right.
right? And so then it's almost like he's dating his best friend's ex-girlfriend or whatever
Right.
type of situation.
Yeah.
Am I reading this right? Okay,
You're writing it
got
right
it.
so far. Yeah. And then
All right, perfect.
and
And
then to
then
follow up.
afterwards,
Yeah.
realized, wait, that's kind of weird. And I wasn't really that interested in this person anyways. So let me just tell my friend so that
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I'm going behind their back. It's just, this happened. Sorry. I know it's weird, awkward, but didn't mean anything, right? So okay,
Yeah, you got it.
perfect. Okay, thank you. Um, yeah, well, I think it sounds to me like Nihilus did everything
Yeah.
right. I mean, when you're in the moment, things like that happen. I mean, it's normal. You're going to be, especially if you're in the market, so to speak, for a partner,
Mm-hmm.
and you're hanging out with other people who are also in the market. You're going to test the waters a little bit. That's going to happen, and that's okay. Um, it's just an awkward sort of thing that it happened to be, your friend's previous relation. And, that is awkward. But at the end of the day, too, if they're not together anymore, it's like you didn't really do anything wrong. It's not like you were trying to separate them from each other. You weren't going behind the back. You weren't doing this. So no fault that I could see, at least from where I'm standing. And your friend obviously is going to be upset. I mean, and for no fault of theirs either. I mean, it's just kind of how it is when you have um, very few relationships break up mutually to where
Mm-hmm.
they're both like, yeah, we're still friends, but we're just really not. This isn't going anywhere, so whatever. Let's just find new people. Like that's not usually how it goes. Um, it sounds like that's not how this went because this guy was really offended. So at least it seems like it because of course it could have just been they were could have been something silly like their phone died and or like got crushed and they couldn't respond because they had to wait for a new phone to come
Mm-hmm.
in the mail or whatever, right? Like silly stuff like that could happen. But if it is in case the fact that his friend was upset about it, I can understand because it would feel like a type of betrayal if this person that you decided to break up with or somebody hurt you, like this person betrayed you, is probably what most people who break up in a relationship, like both sides feel betrayed and when a relationship breaks up, generally speaking, if they cared about each other. And so if you're going to go ahead and get with this person's betrayer, right, then I could see where that, would upset somebody. Even if they know that you still care about them, it's still going to be upsetting. And it's going to take them time to work through that. And I think it's okay. Give them space to work through it. Just let them know, hey, I'm here for you when you're ready. Um, this didn't mean anything. It really, truly didn't. And when you're ready to talk about it, I'm ready to talk about it. I think that's all you needed to do. And I mean, looks like that's what you did. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't really have any advice, really. I mean, you did everything right as far as I can tell. And your friend did everything right as far as I can tell. I mean, they made it like if they were that upset, it's probably good that they sort of avoided you for a little bit. I mean, it would have been nice if they would have said, hey, I just need some time, like that would have been nice. But whatever. They didn't. Who cares? you know, that was the reality. They didn't need to tell you that for you to know that. And so, you know, um, I think I mean, to me, this is just a story that is awkward, but everybody did. They're right. I mean, like it's really good. And now that we have hindsight, I mean, looking back at it, it worked out perfectly as far as I can tell. I mean, they're back together, figured it out. That's going to happen. You're going to, need time away from each other to sort it out. It's just like the last topic we were talking about stress. This is a situation that was just so unbelievable to him. It was like to the friend, I'm sure it felt like his whole world was just shattered, because betrayal is almost the worst thing that you can go through.
Hmm.
Because when you have a good friend, they're in this sort of category in your brain, and when they do something that betrays that category, right, it shatters you to the core. And so working back from this, like putting those pieces back together and trying, like, even to get to the point where you can see, like, oh, it really was just nothing, takes so much work. And the fact that he was able to do it this quickly is actually really, really, really amazing. And
Hmm.
so that just speaks, to the friendship. I think it's fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. But assuming that, let's say I didn't know that it worked out well, right? I think my advice is just, already what you did, just keep doing it. You just need to let this have time. If anybody else is going through something like this, I mean, three-way relationship situations like this are going to be, they're just going to be tough. And even if you don't have bad intentions, it's just going to be tough, and it's just going to take time. There's really nothing you can do except for continuing to be a good person and leaving the door open. Don't ever shut the door on somebody just because they're shutting the door on you.
Hmm.
Right? They just need their own time. And if you both need time, you both shut the door for a while, that's fine. But if you leave your door open, that will allow them to approach when they're ready, that's going to be, I think, the best way forward. Because if they're ready and you're not, and then you shut them down again, it's like all of a sudden they thought they had this figured out, but you shut them down again. Right now, it's just, they had glued this stuff back together, but it broke again. Glue doesn't work. Now what? Now it's like, good luck putting that back together. Why even try? And so, yeah, if you're in a situation like this, your friends doing weird stuff, just give them time and let them know you're there for them when they're ready, and stay ready for them. Stay ready for them. Don't give up on them. Don't give up on people. You don't have to pursue them all the time. You don't have to like run after people, chase after them, no, let them have their space, but don't give up on them. You know, understand they can figure it out.
Hmm. Yeah, well said.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I completely agree, honestly. I think that um, I mean, keeping the door open is really important, no matter what the scenario. For me, I always keep the door open, even when someone does something and I need time to think for a while. Oops, sorry, I put it on you. Didn't mean to do that. Even when I need time to think about for a while, I keep the door open, but I usually just say, "Hey, I need to think for a little bit. You mind if I go do that?" And usually people are just like, "Yeah, I get it. Go for it," because there's that promise of being a good friend. When you've got a relationship that's many years old and you feel like you can trust it, and you've already had your ups and downs through it, you kind of, at some point, you should expect to be able to go like, hey, I did this thing and I realized later that it could have hurt you. Here it is. I think you did all the right stuff there, just like Hal said. You could expect that someone would be like, okay, I'm gonna go away for a while and not tell you, but that they would be back. You know, it would be quite terrible if they didn't come back, right? So I definitely understand the fear that you had, that worry, because that is really scary. It's like, man, this is like one of my best friends, been close. Yeah, actually, your best friend. You said your best friend, and you've had your ups and downs already, and this is the kick that tips the bucket. It's like, wasn't even intentional, and then all of a sudden now they won't talk to you anymore. That is a scary scenario, right? But I think you did the right thing, and I think Kyle said everything that was appropriate. I really don't really have too much to follow up with, so I'm really happy that it all worked out. Um, and there's a lessons to learn here, I think, for everybody, and that's that. You know, friendships are friendships are like this. You know, and it's
Mhm.
it's also the possibility that maybe maybe this friend still wanted to be in a relationship with this gal, you know? And so for him to do that was like, it hurt a lot because that's still someone he's after. But also,
Mm-hmm.
also it could potentially, if that is the case, it could potentially help the friend because could force him to the realization like, hold up, this is my friend, and I'm worked up over this. I don't even have her, and I'm willing to put my friendship on the line for someone like she's not even someone that I have that kind of relationship with. So let me fix my priorities here, calm my obsession with this lady, and get my stuff together. And maybe that's why they needed time, you know? And that's something we all need to do from time to time. You know, if there's something that makes us go, oh, I don't know about this friendship anymore, and it trips us up, we might need to reprioritize and recognize in ourselves, I am literally putting this thing over a human being. Like, that's supposed to be my friend. You know, I'm putting my obsession over the fact that I like cars more than they do. Over the friendship itself. Like, that's an issue. It's like, you know, you get in debate and you're like, oh, I don't like Jaguars. And you're like, you know, Jaguars are my favorite thing. I'm not gonna talk to you anymore. And it's like, that's a problem. That's not the right reaction, right? And that sounds like a silly thing, but that's most things. Most things are silly things that get in the way of our relationships. And most of the things that get in the way of relationships are ourselves and this internal battle going on up here. And we need to reprioritize, revalue everything, be humble, right? So that a sense of pride in the things that we like or don't like that this person is doing don't get in the way of our ability to be their friend and be there for them, right? Because that's what a friend does, right? A friend is someone who's there for the other person. And if we allow some prideful thing in our head to get in the way of being there for someone, man, we got a lot to solve. But we've all done that. I don't think anybody here hasn't done that. That's such an easy thing to fall into. And so we need to put our heads on straight sometimes. And so maybe that's why that person needed that time, you know, that week or whatever, however long it was. Might have been 2 weeks by the time that he re-answered. But, you know, sometimes you need to work through that battle and recognize that it's there and shut it down and then get real, you know, get real with yourself. And so, I don't know, if anyone here experiencing that right now, I'd say work it out because it's worth it. It sets you up for better success in your relationships going forward if you find that little issue in your brain where you put pride over something over the value of over being there for someone and helping them and being a friend. But anyways, that's all I've got to add to it. Short and simple. So, I went to the wrong cam. Messing up a lot today. Anyways, thank you everyone so much. Kyle, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just a general, this is quick. You don't have to switch the camera. Just a general life lesson here. You know, if you have a friend who breaks up with another friend, you know, you never know where their feelings are at. So, you know, if a girl's worth kissing, she's going to be worth waiting to kiss. And so if you feel like you want to do something, push something forward, right? Like, and you know there's a history, it's always a good idea to talk to the friend first because you don't know where they're at with it. And it might be, you know, that they say, no, please don't do anything. And then it's fine. You go tell the girl, look, I like you, but we're going to it's not right time right now because of my friend or whatever. And, you know, you seem this particular situation, you found out that you really didn't like her that much anyway. So now it's like, who cares? Why, you know, the whole point of the kiss anyway, right? And so, you know, if you want to kiss somebody, you know, they'll get those feelings, you know, maybe just back up a little bit, just a little bit. You don't have to kiss somebody right away the first time you feel something fun.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
There's no rush. There is no rush to get into stuff like that. And then you avoid conflicts like this. So
yeah. Yeah.
But
and sometimes you just fall into place that way. You know, you're just like,
sometimes stuff just happens, you know, and that's probably the case here. But I just, you know, general life rule, Like,
Yeah.
probably if you feel something for somebody, think about it before you take action on it, because with relationships, there's no reason to rush through to the end, right? Best relationships are developed over time. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that could be said there, but relationships are one of the most valuable things in life. And we can all sort of
mhm,
agree with that. And here's the thing, if you don't think smart about that and you rush on your feelings, you might just get hurt and hurt the other person. Because your heart
mhm.
and your feelings aren't always correct, they aren't always the answer leading you to the best relationship. So definitely have to spend time thinking about your actions and rushing into like, oh my gosh, it could even be not even like a romance thing where like you're rushing your head over heels. It could be anger. It could be that
Mhm.
emotion. All of a sudden you get angry. Do you just get spout everything out, or do you center in and go, hold on, I want to make the best relationship? Yes, this is an issue we have to talk about, but I don't have to be violent. Or I
Right.
don't have to
Yep.
criticize them or hurt them to get it through their head. You know. So yeah. Um.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the overall like thing, right? Like if you have a strong emotion, take a step back
Mm-hmm.
before proceeding, whether it's a strong positive or a strong negative, because there can be a lot of false positives, a lot of false negatives. And, with a false negative, you're going to hurt something that could have been. And then with a false positive, you could potentially hurt somebody else if they thought it was more than it was.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Like there's this girl to think about too. If she, for whatever reason, like fell for you in that moment, and now for you it's nothing, but for her that was, she hasn't kissed just anybody.
Yeah.
Now you've got that to deal with too. And so same thing, just take your time, no reason to rush.
Yep.
If
Yeah.
it's meant to be,
Absolutely.
you'll hang out together again, and it'll work out. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
perfect.
all right, that's it. So hey, thanks everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks for spending time with us, and also putting so much in the chat, so many thoughtful things
Mhm.
and fun things also.
Yes.
You guys are amazing, and we love you. If you have a
Mhm.
topic you want us to talk about next stream, go to don'tworrywednesday.com and press the submit a topic button. That's right. It's as
Yeah.
simple as the name of the show. Don'tworrywednesday.com.
Yep. And Joe should be back, so you don't have to look at me. It'll be great.
Ah, you're
I'm
fun to
wait.
look at.
No, I'm gonna go back in time again and turn back into Joe or something. I
Yeah,
have
you're
to
gonna have
go
to
back and
relive your life and then go up to that moment
relive
where you,
relive the other life.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be. Well, have fun and good luck with that, bro. That sounds like quite the
Yeah.
journey. So
Thanks.
that'll take about a week, and
Yeah.
we will see
I
you
should
back
I should
here
be
as
29
Joe
years in a week.
next week. Yeah, that's right, 29 years exactly. All right,
In 1 week.
awesome,
All
exactly in
right.
1 week. All right, well, thank you guys. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and to see you next Don't Worry Wednesday. Bye now.
See ya.
Peace.